Have you ever wondered why some men walk into a room and instantly command respect without saying a word, without forcing their presence, without trying to charm anyone while others talk endlessly, show off, or bend over, backward, and still remain invisible? The truth is, respect doesn't start with your words. It starts with the silence that surrounds you, with the energy you carry when you don't beg, when you don't chase, when you don't need. That silence, that restraint, that calm refusal to explain yourself, that is the language of value. And most men today have forgotten how to speak it. Think back to the last time you were on a date. Maybe with a woman you really wanted to impress. You filled the air with stories, with jokes, with explanations. You leaned in too much, laughed too hard, asked too many questions, maybe even revealed too much too soon. She smiled politely, maybe even played along, but deep down she wasn't drawn closer, she was drifting away. Why? Because your words revealed a hunger, and hunger is weakness in the emotional battlefield of attraction. Now imagine the opposite. You walk into that same date with stillness. You don't rush to fill the silences. You let her carry part of the conversation. You sit back, steady, listening more than speaking, answering when necessary but never over-explaining. She starts leaning in. She starts watching your face when she talks. She starts working to pull you into her world. She feels the weight of your restraint, and it forces her to measure herself against you. That is respect without words. Here's the brutal truth: men who don't understand this will keep chasing validation, and women will keep losing interest. The moment you try to buy respect with attention, with compliments, with oversharing, you lose it. Respect is not given when you demand it. It is given when you already embody it, when you're willing to walk away if it's not offered. And women test this constantly, often without even knowing they're doing it. Take this scenario. She suddenly grows distant after texting you all week. She replies slower, colder. You panic. You write longer messages. Try to make her laugh. Maybe even confront her. Did I do something wrong? Do you see the trap? You've made her the prize. You've put her on the throne and placed yourself beneath it. And once you do that, she doesn't have to respect you anymore. She knows she can control your emotions. What should you do instead? Nothing. You mirror her silence with silence. If her energy drops, yours doesn't chase it, withdraws completely. Because a man of value never bargains for attention. He never trades his dignity to keep someone's interest. When she feels that you don't crumble in her absence, that you remain steady, her curiosity wakes up. She wonders why her withdrawal didn't shake you. That's when respect begins to grow. Not because of what you said, but because of what you refused to do. This isn't about games. It's about control, self-control. Words are easy. Silence is discipline. And discipline is what creates gravity. Think about men in history who held power. The king doesn't explain himself. The general doesn't beg his soldiers to follow. The leader doesn't ask for permission to lead. His presence, his composure, his stillness, all of it speaks louder than speeches. That same law applies in your relationships. Another common trap: over-investing emotionally before she's earned it. You meet her, and after a week, you're already rearranging your schedule for her. Cancelling plans with friends, sending flowers, planning dates months ahead. You think you're proving your commitment. What you're really proving is that your life has no center without her. And once again, she feels the power shift and she loses respect. The tactical fix is simple holdback. Not coldness, not cruelty, but restraint. Let her earn more of you before you give more. If she cancels plans last minute, you don't argue, You don't beg to reschedule, you let her go. And you stay busy. If she's slow to reply, you don't double text, you continue with your day. If she pushes boundaries, you enforce yours calmly and firmly. This doesn't just keep her respect. It forces her to see you as a man who values his own time, his own energy, his own worth above everything else. The cost of failing to live this way is devastating. You become the man who is always waiting, always explaining, always trying harder while she tries less. You become the background character in your own life. And the worst part, you feel it. Deep inside, you know you've given away your center, and that feeling rots your confidence from within. But the shift is just as powerful. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop over-explaining, the moment you allow silence to do the work, your words never could you flip the script. Suddenly, you're not the one waiting to be chosen. You're the one who is observed, evaluated, pursued. Because respect without words is the clearest signal of strength a man can ever send. Have you ever caught yourself over-explaining just to keep someone interested? Have you ever chased harder when she started pulling away? Which of these mistakes do you see yourself repeating the most? Be honest. Drop your story below. Picture this, you're sitting across from her at dinner. She throws out a subtle jab, something about how you don't really dress up, or how your job doesn't sound exciting. It's light, almost playful, but you feel that sting. Most men rush to defend themselves. They laugh nervously, over-explain their career, brag about their ambitions, or promise they'll dress better next time. They think they're fixing it, but really, they just confirmed her suspicion that her words hold power over them. That single moment kills respect more than they realize. Now imagine you don't take the bait. You smile, let her words hang in the air, and simply return to your meal. Maybe you say something calm and dismissive, like, or maybe you say nothing at all. That silence forces her to question her own jab. Was it too harsh? Did she miss? Suddenly, the energy flips. She feels the need to explain herself, to soften, to win back the balance she just lost. That's the difference between a man who lives in reaction and a man who stands in unshakable presence. Respect without words is about this exact posture, the refusal to dance to her tune when the tune is designed to test you. Women test because they need to know where the edge of your strength lies. If you crumble, they know you are not the one who can lead. If you stay centered, they lean into you because they finally feel safe in your frame. The trap men fall into is believing they can talk their way into respect. But respect doesn't respond to explanations, it responds to boundaries. And boundaries are enforced by behavior, not speeches. If she pulls away and you keep texting, you have no boundary. If she mocks you and you try to impress her harder, you have no boundary. If she flakes and you immediately reschedule, you have no boundary. Respect dies where boundaries are absent. Let me give you a scenario. She cancels on you last minute, saying she's too tired. You feel disappointment rising in your chest. The weak move. You text back, "It's okay. When are you free again?" The stronger move, you simply say, "All right, take care," and then you go live your life. You don't chase, you don't sulk, you don't offer to bend your time around hers, and the next time she reaches out, she'll feel the shift. You are not waiting for her approval. That single moment of restraint plants the seed of respect deeper than any grand gesture could. Here's another common trap: attention withdrawal as control. Maybe she suddenly stops being affectionate. She doesn't text you first anymore. She becomes colder in person. Many men respond with panic. They buy gifts, plan surprises, write long, heartfelt messages, thinking they'll reignite her warmth. But all they're really doing is rewarding her withdrawal. She learns that by pulling away, she can make you chase. And once she knows she can control you with distance, she'll use it again and again. The counter strategy, indifference. When she withdraws, you don't chase the lost warmth. You give space, you remain steady, and you keep living your life. You don't punish, but you don't overcompensate. Eventually, she has two choices: return with genuine energy or lose her place in your world. And because women respect the gravity of a man who won't break under silence, most return stronger. The lesson: you never chase withdrawal, you let it echo. The cost of failing this is brutal. You become a slave to her moods. When she's warm, you feel alive. When she's cold, you collapse. You hand over the keys to your emotions. And once you've done that, you'll never feel secure again. She will always be the one deciding how much peace you get. But when you reclaim that control, when her warmth or coldness no longer determines your center, you flip the entire dynamic. You become the stable ground she wants to stand on. And here's the deeper layer most men ignore. Women don't respect the man who bends for every emotional gust. They may use him, they may keep him around, they may even say they like him, but they do not respect him. And without respect, desire dies. Attraction cannot survive pity. That's why so many men who do everything right end up abandoned for the man who doesn't even try as hard, because the second man holds himself as the prize. Respect without words is about training yourself to be that man. It's not about arrogance. It's not about cruelty. It's about stillness. It's about letting her feel your refusal to be moved by tests, jabs, or games. That refusal tells her something no speech ever could. You are grounded. You don't need her approval to breathe. And ironically, that's what makes her want to give it. Have you ever rewarded a woman's silence with more attention? Have you ever felt like her mood controlled your entire day? Which of those traps have you fallen into most? Often share it below. I want to hear the real stories. There's a moment every man faces, though few admit it. You're with her, maybe after a few weeks of dating, and she looks at you in a way that feels like judgment more than affection. It's not about what you're saying, it's about what you're giving off. Maybe she notices how quickly you respond to her texts. Maybe she sees how available you always are, how you drop everything the second she calls. She doesn't say it out loud, but she feels it. This man is too eager, too centered on me, too willing to orbit my world. And at that moment, something shifts inside her. She still likes you, but the respect begins to fade. Most men think affection alone will hold her attention. They think consistency is enough. But here's the raw truth. Consistency without scarcity turns into weakness. When you are always there, always reaching out, always trying to prove your worth, she doesn't feel chosen. She feels smothered, and smothering never inspires respect. The irony is, the men who hold back a little, the men who don't rush to text back, the men who remain slightly unpredictable, those are the men women can't stop thinking about. Why? Because restraint is power. It tells her, I like you, but I don't need you. I'm here, but I'm not yours to control. My time is mine, and you will have to earn more of it. That tension, that slight gap between her desire and your availability, is what keeps respect alive. Here's a tactical example. Say she texts you late at night. Hey, what are you doing? The weak move, you drop everything, answer instantly, maybe even drive to see her. You think it proves commitment, but it actually proves you have no boundaries. The stronger move, you reply the next morning, casually. Just got this busy night yesterday. Hope you're good. Do you see the difference? One response screams, I'm desperate for your time. The other whispers, I live a full life, and you're not the center of it. Which man does she respect more? And here's another test that destroys men quietly, the guilt trap. She says, you don't make enough effort. You don't text me enough. You don't plan enough dates. In that moment, most men panic. They overcorrect. They flood her with attention. They book dinners, buy gifts, write long apologies. But what really happened? She complained, and you gave her a reward. You reinforced her belief that you are scared to lose her. That fear is the death of respect. The strategy: you don't collapse into guilt. You calmly acknowledge her words, but you don't change your behavior out of fear. You say something like, I hear you, but this is who I am. If that's not enough, that's okay. And then you stop talking. You let her sit in the silence. That silence is more powerful than any speech. It forces her to decide. Is she willing to risk losing a man who isn't begging? That moment recenters the respect that was slipping. Men underestimate how much their constant explaining, apologizing, and over-investing erodes their own value. Every time you explain what doesn't need explaining, every time you rush to fix a complaint, every time you text paragraphs when she sends one word, you are leaking value. And women feel that leak immediately. They don't always know why they feel less drawn to you, but they feel it. Respect without words means you learn to hold your line. If she's upset and giving you the silent treatment, you don't crumble and beg for forgiveness. You wait. If she's testing you with sarcasm, you don't defend, you smile. You shrug. You move on. If she pushes your boundaries, you enforce them calmly and once, not with a lecture, but with action. And if she truly crosses the line, you walk away. That walk away, done with silence and composure, carries more weight than any argument could. Think of the last time you argued with a woman, maybe raised your voice, tried to prove your point. Did it ever really work? Did she suddenly say, "You're right, I respect you more now"? Of course not. Arguments drain respect because they reveal desperation. Walking away restores respect because it reveals strength. You prove that your peace is more valuable than her chaos. And that's a language she understands deeply. The men who master this find their relationships shift completely. They no longer chase after scraps of attention. They no longer beg for love. They no longer explain their worth. Instead, women lean into them, work to earn their time, and treat them with the respect they once had to beg for. Because respect given without words is respect that lasts. So I'll ask you, have you ever found yourself apologizing just to end her silence, even when you weren't wrong? Have you ever argued, only to realize it made her pull away even more? What would change in your life if you finally stopped explaining and started holding your line? Think about the last time you felt a shift in her eyes. At the beginning, she looked at you with curiosity, almost admiration. But weeks later, that look dulled. She wasn't rude. She didn't walk away immediately. But something invisible died in the space between you, her respect. You can feel it when it happens. She laughs at your jokes, but it's hollow. She agrees to see you, but she's distracted. She hugs you, but there's no pull in her body. And you're left wondering what changed. You didn't stop giving. In fact, you gave more. And that was the problem. Respect isn't maintained by giving more. It's maintained by giving less until more is earned. When you constantly offer, constantly explain, constantly make yourself available, you create a dynamic where she doesn't have to reach for you. And when she doesn't have to reach, she doesn't have to respect. Respect is born in effort. If she isn't working for you, she won't value you. That's the hard truth. Here's what men forget. Women respect the man who remains slightly out of reach. Not distant, not cold, but sovereign. He doesn't fold just because she's upset. He doesn't jump just because she calls. He doesn't rewrite his life to fit into her moods. That man has a center, and a man with a center is magnetic. A man without one is disposable. Let's make this practical. Say she suddenly criticizes you in front of her friends. Maybe it's about your career, your car, or your habits. Most men would defend themselves, laugh it off nervously, or worse, try to win the approval of the group by joking at their own expense. But what happens? Everyone feels that drop in power. She might laugh, but she won't respect you more. The stronger move, you don't flinch. You let the comment pass like wind. You continue the conversation without acknowledging it, or you give a calm, unshaken response. That's cute, and then you move on. The group feels it, she feels it. You just revealed that you cannot be shaken in public. That is respect earned silently. Another scenario, she pushes to control your time. Maybe she wants to see you every day, and when you don't, she accuses you of not caring enough. Weak men surrender. They abandon their gym, their work, their goals, just to prove they're devoted. But what's left? She sees a man who abandons his mission for her moods. And the cruel paradox is this: the more he gives up for her, the less she respects him. The correct response is steadiness. You tell her, I can't tonight. I've got work to do. And then you do it. You don't explain. You don't argue. You don't turn it into drama. You let her feel the boundary. And as much as she may protest in the moment, deep down she respects you more, because she knows your life has weight beyond her. That weight is what keeps her pulled toward you. Most men live in fear of losing her, but here's the paradox. The fear of loss creates the very loss you're afraid of. When you cling too tightly, she feels suffocated and pulls away. When you let go and remain steady, she leans back in. It's the same reason a king doesn't beg his subjects to stay loyal. His throne exists whether they cheer or not. His presence is enough, and loyalty flows naturally toward power. This is why silence, composure, and restraint are so powerful in modern dating. You're not just holding back words, you're holding back the impulse to prove yourself. And that restraint signals to her, this man is already chosen by life. If I want him, I have to rise to his level. The cost of ignoring this is lifelong. You'll find yourself in relationship after relationship where you give endlessly, only to be discarded for the man who gave less but carried more presence. You'll feel bitter, confused, betrayed, but it won't be betrayal, it will be a lesson you refuse to learn. That respect is not begged for. It's not explained into existence. It's claimed by the way you stand, the way you live, and the way you hold silence like a weapon. And the shift, once you embrace it, is total. You stop chasing texts. You stop explaining your worth. You stop overcompensating for her withdrawal. Instead, you sit back, you breathe, you let the silence work in your favor. And what happens? She notices, she leans. She begins to wonder why she feels drawn to you even more when you're not chasing. That's the invisible gravity of a man who proves his value without a single word. So let me ask you, have you ever dropped your own priorities just to keep her happy? Have you ever felt her respect slipping away the more you gave? What would it look like if, next time, you gave less and let her come to you? Most men don't realize this until it's too late. The way you carry yourself when things get tense is the ultimate test. Not when she's sweet, not when she's laughing, not when everything feels easy. It's when she's cold, when she's irritated, when she tries to push your buttons. That's when the truth of your value is revealed. Do you lose your center and start arguing, defending, and over-explaining? Or do you remain calm, steady, unbothered? That choice decides whether she sees you as a man to respect or a man to control. Think about a moment when she raised her voice at you. Maybe she accused you of not caring. Maybe she tried to guilt you for not doing enough. The average man scrambles to defend himself. He lists all the things he's done, all the effort he's put in. He pleads for understanding. But do you know what she hears? She hears desperation. She hears a man who needs her approval more than he needs his own peace. And once she hears that, the respect is gone. Now imagine the opposite. She raises her voice. She throws accusations, and you remain calm. You don't match her chaos. You let her words pass through the air like smoke. And when you do speak, it's measured if that's how you feel. Then maybe this isn't right for you. Nothing else. No debate, no pleading, just composure. That silence cuts deeper than any argument. She realizes you're not a man who can be cornered. You're a man who can walk away. And that's the moment she feels the weight of your value. Here's what many men miss. Women don't want to destroy you with their tests. They want to feel the edges of your strength. They want to know that if life throws storms at you, you won't collapse. When they push, when they jab, when they go cold, they're unconsciously searching for that center. And if you break every time, they know they can't trust you to lead. That's why silence, restraint, and composure are more attractive than flowers, gifts, or long speeches. Those gestures are easy. Composure under fire is rare. Let's go deeper into tactics. If she gives you the silent treatment, don't chase. Don't text her paragraphs. Don't call her multiple times asking what's wrong. You wait. You go about your day. And when she finally reaches out, you respond calmly and normally, as if nothing happened. That shows her you're not dependent on her attention to function, and that steadiness forces her to recalibrate. If she mocks or criticizes you, don't defend yourself. Don't try to win the crowd's approval. You look at her, you smile, you shrug, and you let the moment die. Everyone around you feels the difference. You're not the man trying to earn respect. You're the man who already has it. If she withdraws intimacy to manipulate you, don't reward her with more effort. Don't shower her with attention in hopes of regaining her warmth. You give her space, you stay centered, and you let her feel the consequence of her choice. If she values you, she'll return. If she doesn't, she'll fade and you'll know without begging. These are not games. These are boundaries. And boundaries are what build respect without words. Because here's the truth. A man who explains too much, who argues too much, who apologizes too much, teaches her one thing: his peace is cheap. And a man whose peace is cheap will always lose respect. But a man who protects his peace, who refuses to let anyone shake it, that man creates gravity. He doesn't have to demand respect. He doesn't have to chase it. Respect bends toward him like iron to a magnet. The cost of failing this lesson is deep. You become the man who is always explaining himself, always trying to prove his worth, always exhausted from chasing approval. You burn out. You lose your edge. And worse, you start to resent women, not realizing it was your own lack of boundaries that created the cycle. But the man who learns silence, composure, and restraint breaks free from that prison. He stops bleeding energy into endless arguments. He stops begging for affection. He stops explaining what doesn't need explaining. And suddenly, women treat him differently. They lean in. They test less. They respect more. That's the secret of respect. Without words, it isn't about being cold. It isn't about being distant. It's about having a center that cannot be moved. And once you live from that center, everything changes. So let me ask you directly, Have you ever felt yourself losing control in an argument just to win her approval? Have you ever begged for clarity when her silence crushed you? What would happen if, next time, you didn't chase, and instead, you simply let her feel your composure? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.